Hello folks, how are you today? I hope you're well. It's kind of the end of the afternoon here, and I don't really have anything for you. But I thought I would leave you with a morsel. So, just give this clay here a few turns. Dee dee. Yeah. It's nice with this kind of wheel, you see. I can use the seat as a wedging table. Actually, what I thought about doing was, in fact, please remind me, because I never actually finished when we did the last clips. We did those jam pots, didn't we? And I never actually showed you the last part, which was finishing the lid and fitting it up, you see. And I wanted to do that. What in fact happened was I finished them, and I was in the middle of doing a clip about that, and the battery ran out right in the middle. But I had to continue on and finish them, so I wasn't able to show you them. However, I've made some more. So with those ones, I've actually just made them, and those ones I will show you tomorrow, hopefully, the fitting of the lid and the finishing of the jam pot. So, having already done that, I don't want to really go over that again because we've already done it. So I didn't really have anything for you, so goodbye. No, don't go away yet. There may be something that we can talk about, you see. Because there's always something to talk about, isn't there? There's always something to learn. It doesn't matter where you think you're at as a potter. You may think you're past, you know, learning. Well, if you are, I feel sorry for you. Anyway, you know, teaching pottery as I do, I am aware of really the importance of getting your lump of clay on centre. So I just want to do a very quick little clip on how to centre a lump of clay, and maybe it's helpful to somebody out there. Even if you know how to centre a lump of clay, there may be somebody else who doesn't. And it is actually vitally important, isn't it, to get that lump of clay into the middle. So I just thought, well, we just pull off a few lumps here, you see, and I can remember, you know, when I started in the pottery back in 1979, you know, working for my dad, that, you know, centering a lump of clay, not always that easy, is it? Doesn't always go where you want it to go. So need a little bit of a smaller lump, this one. Anyway, let's bring the camera in a little bit closer and see if we can make some sense of this wheel thing in front of us. Yes, where there's a wheel, there's a way. I like that expression. Alright, so there's a bit of clay there left over from my last lid. No matter. Number one, here's a good tip. Alright? Number one, throw your lump of clay to the centre, to the bullseye. Did you ever play darts? I used to play darts. So, you know, let's get down to centre the clay. Well, that's no good, is it, like that? For a start, you're better off getting it roughly in the middle. If it's not quite in the middle, just pull it to the centre like that, okay? Maybe just give it a few taps like that, if it's a bigger lump of clay. So, the next thing we need to do is, for centering, you need to have a reasonable amount of speed, okay? You want to lean over the wheel and posture yourself like this, you see, leaning. Now, with the wheel going anti-clockwise, in other words, if you're a normal kind of conventional right-handed person, then, and you don't have a particular Japanese bent, as it were, you know, and that you want to make the wheel, go around the other way, so everything is on the other side and reversed. Okay, if you're a normal conventional thrower, what you want to do is put your right hand onto the clay like that. You see? So in other words, the clay is flowing through my fingers and out like that. Okay? The contrast of that is, and what I find a lot of people do is, they'll put their left hand, okay, so the clay, as it goes around, is flowing into your fingers and they can catch, you see. So, right hand, lean your arm on the wheel tray, left hand, cup it over your right hand like that, okay, and apply some downward pressure, okay, at the same time restraining the clay. So I'm actually, although I'm applying downward pressure, I'm actually pulling the clay very slightly towards myself, if you see what I mean. Now, if you do this and you practice it, you will get the lump of clay on centre. Now, sometimes the clay, a little bit irregular there, you see, a little bit of irregularity. Just make sure we're in the picture. So one thing that you can do is, as soon as you have got the lump of clay on the wheel and you've sort of centered it, and that is I squeeze it, you see, at the base, sort of with this part of my hand, like that, and bring up a cone, you see, like that. Now, when you have a cone, when you can bring up a cone like that, you can then squish the cone back down again into itself, you see. But it is very important, if you do that, that you have your other hand, your right hand here, supporting the clay. So now I'm going to take that point there and push it down at the same time with this hand restraining the clay and stopping it going off in all directions. Okay? I then will take my right finger, my right thumb I should say, and just clean it there at the base. Okay? Let's go through that again. So, when it's time for your next lump of clay, your next pot, after you've cut off from the previous one, don't clean your pad, okay? Just take your next lump of clay be careful if you have wet hands that you don't, you know, some people I see will take the next lump of clay with wet hands, and then they're going like this. You see? Now you're going to throw that down onto there? Well, you can do, but it's going to come straight off, isn't it? So, if you pick up a lump of clay with wet hands, you pick it up rather carefully so that one face here is absolutely clean, and you haven't scraped off the last pad here from the last lump, and you're going to throw that straight on. And that's going to stick. Okay? So now, leaning forward, hand on the side, right hand and then left. Okay? Pushing down, getting the clay attached to the wheel head. Then that business I just showed you here, now I'm bringing up the clay, you see, into a cone. Now taking my left hand, I kind of call this part of my hand the heel of my hand, because it kind of reminds me like the heel of my foot. So I take the heel of my hand, supporting the clay with my right hand, and just push that down, okay, till you get a nice even mushroom shape. And it's quite a good idea to clean it right at the base there. Define the base there with your thumb and get that just cleaned off, alright? So I think you'll see, and one way to see whether a lump of clay is actually on center is to take a stationary object and hold it very close to it. If you do that, you see, you'll see whether the lump of clay is on center or not immediately. So if we just push him off center, hold the stationary object, you'll see how that is very visibly out of true. It's what we call the still center. It's still because you can't, when you put a stationary object to it like that, you can't see it, you see, it's stationary. It almost looks like it's not moving, doesn't it? But of course when you move it off center, it's no longer the still center, is it? Alright. Now, that's very important to learn how to center your clay. And the next thing you need to learn to do after you've centered your lump of clay is to keep it on center. Because the next thing you're going to do to this lump of clay is you're going to break in. You're going to break in with your thumb and your fingers. Okay, and you're going to push down, you see, and you've got to keep the lump of clay. Meanwhile you're doing that, you've got to keep the lump of clay still in the middle, in the center. And so I recommend when you break in, you see this, you see how I've broken in here. It's not like what I think of like a borehole, you know, straight down. It's sort of going down at an angle, isn't it, like this, in a sort of V shape. And I find that by supporting the clay with my hand on the outside and going down on from above like this with the support in the shape of a V, if you see the posture of my fingers creates this V shape. And I find if I do that, that helps the lump of clay stay on center as I'm working it and as I'm opening it out. Okay, let me just wire this one off, and I just want to show you one other thing very quickly about centering. Now, a lot of people, okay, so again, keep it clean, all right? Vitally important, keep it clean. Aim for the center. If you're not getting good on center, we'll go down the pub and take some darts and practice, see where the bullseye is, you see? You'll soon get it. No, seriously, if it isn't on center, just pull it to the center before you start revolving around putting water on it, okay? First thing you've got to do is get that lump of clay stuck down properly. Okay, what I just want to quickly say is a lot of people in the process of centering. Now, folks, this is not an exercise in brute force. It's not an exercise in exercising a lot of strength. You need a little bit of firmness, you know, initially here while you're doing it, but it's not really a strength thing. I mean, I can actually just center a lump of clay with one hand. All right. I'm just doing that to show you that it's not actually brute force. Okay, but you know, people when they're doing this, they are exercising a little bit when they're beginning. They're putting a bit of force into it and they're working at it like this, and then they're seeing, I wonder if that's on center. Yeah, is that on center? Can you see if that's on center? And then they take their hands off like that, don't they? They're like this, and they're struggling away, and they're pumping and pumping and pushing, and is that on center? No. Now, when something is going around like this, to keep it in the middle, to keep it in the still center, all right, after you've exercised a little bit of pressure, okay, what you need to do is release your hands slowly off the clay. Okay? Release your hands, because if you don't, if you're pushing and, you know, putting pressure and then you're just taking your hands off quickly, you see you're going to be running, the inertia of the will make him, whoa, he'll just suddenly go off, you see, at an angle like that. So keep it, work gently, you see, firmly with pressure, but release gently. If you do that, you'll have success. But you do need to, as in all things, you do need to practice. Okay, folks, well, there it is. Dee, 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 dee. Well, I hope that's been of some help to you, to somebody out there, and I think that's basically the basics of how to center a lump of clay. But centering a lump of clay is not done in one's head. You've got to with your hands work the clay and learn. Hey, Sheena, come on. So there's a good clip by, if you go to YouTube and just put in Michael Cardew. He talks about, he's talking about kneading, learning how to knead, not learning how to center. But he's talking about kneading. But anyway, it's a worthwhile clip. Anyway, it's about practice, but it's about kneading. It's not actually about centering. But go and find it. Michael Cardew. Look for it on YouTube, and it's a rather nice clip of him working and just talking and talking about kneading. So anyway, I'll leave that with you. Go to my website, simonleachpottery.com, and get practicing, and I'll see you soon. Hey, bye-bye now. Keep practicing.